Eduardo, it's so good to see you. It's
You
evening there in New York and morning here in Australia. So I'll say good evening to you.
Thank you.
And welcome to the Gift Spotter movement. As you know, and I want to share with the world, the Gift Spotter movement is about helping people find their true nature. So who they really are beyond their ego, so that they can find their unique purpose, their swadharma, and show up and be of service to the world. Because I think too many are led to believe that being of selfish service is living a good life, and I know both you and I know that's just going to cause suffering for people. So welcome. Eduardo was here in Australia March of last year, and I was one of the lucky ones. It was his first time in Australia. He's the founder of Fearless Communicators, and it was his first time in Australia taking a cohort of women to help them voice their stories, to express themselves through, I guess, speaking in front of a live audience, which many of us wouldn't have done. And that's where I came out of the closet as a gift spotter and spotted Eduardo's incredible gift, really, to bring light to all these beautiful women and help them express themselves. So that's just a little bit about Eduardo. Do you want to say a little bit, Eduardo, about the purpose of Fearless Communicators?
I'm going to breathe into that and let it settle for a second. And what really feels resonant in the moment is our commitment to empower diverse leaders in the ownership and sharing of their truth. And then that truth in service of their community and their audience.
Yes, I can see why you breathed into that. I just breathed into that too. It's not something you want to rush out of your mouth because it's profoundly beautiful. And
interesting, Kristen, because I've been reflecting on this. So I'm in the process of writing a book, and in the uncovering of that, what I was present to was, what is the impact of being a liar for the first 18 years of your life?
Wow.
And I knew in my heart that there was a truth about who I was, and the world around me, my parents, my family, my church, my community, could not be with that truth. And I knew it on a molecular level that I had to lie, that what was at risk was my own survival. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting that a 4-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old is able to have the emotional intelligence to know, I can't say this because it's not safe, and I'm just gonna lie.
Wow.
And the weathering of that, what the cost of that is. And that truth is that I'm a gay man. And it wasn't until I came out at 18 that the alignment of, I gave voice to that truth, that I stood in my body and said out loud the truth. And what happens is, when the truth is communicated, the first thing that happens is the air rushes out, and then everything slows down, and then new breath is available, and it's the deepest breath that you've had because you've let it go. It is free, it is liberated, and it's taken years of doing this work to realize that what I think, I'm going to call it a gift, I didn't even mean to go there, is the ability to create the environment, the container of safety and love that can hold the truth. And in Spanish, the term to give birth is dar a luz. My family is Cuban and Spanish of origin, so Spanish is my first language. And dar a luz means bring to light. And that's what we do. People come to work with me and they think they're thinking it's going to speak about something, and then they end up speaking about something else, because the truth that is emerging is what really wants to be born, right? And not just, I'm saying this out of ego, which is something you talked about. I'm not going to speak about ego. I'm not telling this out of ego, but the truth emerges as an act of service for you, and then more importantly, for the people who have the privilege of witnessing that truth and holding space of that truth with you.
I'm almost speechless. It's hard for me to be speechless. Wow. I think, well, firstly, just imagine if we didn't get, if I and the other women and the other people, other leaders that you work with, didn't get the opportunity to experience your truth, then we wouldn't have had the opportunity to express ourselves and evolve to the next level. So if you hadn't have gone through, which, well, I'm assuming that it was hard to come out and say, this is who I am. And if you hadn't have gone through that metamorphosis, which includes, breaking through the pain of other people's judgments, then we wouldn't have you. We would have a shrunken version of you with the light sort of flickering here and there, but not holistically like we are with you. So I'm so delighted.
Yeah. And what I would offer, it's a process. It's not an arriving, it's a constant choice to be in the light and to be in the expression around the continuous uncovering, to let the light come out, because there's always a choice for the other, and it's a muscle. It is a muscle and a practice and a privilege, to be of service, that other people get to also own that truth. And it doesn't always have to come from suffering, right? And there is a truth and something very powerful to be shared. And what a privilege to be able to witness and hold that, and then empower the human being in the ownership of that, the embodiment of that, and then the communication of that truth.
Well, you see, your light is flickering when you're talking about your purpose, really. And I have young people, quite a lot actually, who follow me, and and I want to talk a little bit to you about your younger self, because we flicker from the moment we're born. And that's when I talk about the light flickering, I'm talking about our true nature sort of inside of us, sort of flickering here and there. For me, it was, I wrote poetry when I was young, and I loved music, classical music, and there was this art side of me that sort of didn't fit with anyone around me. But those were some of the clues to where the light flickers, and I didn't honor any of those clues until much, much later in life. So I'd love to know where your lights were flickering as a young person, those clues to your true nature.
So two things. One, I remember, so I'm an identical twin, and my twin brother's straight. And when we were playing with our toys, and we were playing, with our G.I. Joes, and we were playing war, my brother was playing war, and it was very serious 5-year-old war. And I was playing War, the musical. And my little figurines wanted to sing, and they wanted to dance, and they wanted to have monologues. So there was a way in which everything that I did erupted into song. And maybe it's because I felt so much that, you know, the beauty of Shakespeare and the beauty of musical theater is that the human experience of, at some points, prose just doesn't cut it. I would say that we're living in one of those times right now. Like, sometimes just saying the words doesn't cut it, and we have to resort to music or movement or painting or something that generates some expression, harmony, again, singing. Like, something else has to happen, because speaking just doesn't cut it.
Cerebral speaking, isn't it? It's cerebral. It doesn't necessarily, you know, include the body in the expression.
Correct. And, you know, it's really interesting. There's a woman that we both know, Johanna de Reuter, who shared with me when I was in the program with you, which is it's from a tribe in Papua New Guinea, which is, knowledge is only rumor until it lives in the muscle.
Beautiful.
And we think the knowing is in our head, but it's not in our head. There is so much knowing in our body. And not only our knowing, but generational knowing.
That's right.
There is generational trauma, there is generational knowing that is stored in the DNA, in the fabric of who we are, that is at the confluence of all of our ancestry and all of the environments that formed those people. So there's an opportunity when we connect to our body to understand what is looking to be released. And energy is neither created nor destroyed, right? So energy is energy. And when we use the energy, sometimes we hold it down or we resist it, and that turns into like stress and pain and disease, you know. And there's something about the power of like absorbing the energy and moving through it. Yes. And what happens is, when you sing, when you move, like, the energy flows out of your body. And, you know, I'll share very personally, like, one of the things that I'm dealing with in this moment is just like a resurgence of anxiety. And I think I share about it because I think it's important to not shame anxiety, that, you know, and I get that I'm also feeling anxiety. I am not anxiety. Like, there's a distinction between the being of anxiety, and in this moment, I am feeling anxious, right? And what I have found really valuable and helpful is moving, right? So I move. So I will go for a walk, and just the shifting of instead of sitting or dwelling or laying down, like the actual shifting of my physical state helps me to channel that energy. And the other thing that's emerging right now, which is really interesting because it goes back to my childhood, is I'm creating the space to deepen my relationship to my singing, not from a space of performance, validation, but from a space of intimacy, curiosity, vulnerability. What song wants to be sung in this moment? And then just kind of experimenting and playing and seeing what's there, not recording it, not putting on a cabaret. I was an actor for 15 years, right? Not doing a show, not auditioning, but just really being in an intimate relationship to what is this energy that's coming up from me that then wants to be expressed. And then you saw also, I've been writing lyrics to musical theater, to show tunes that are also a channel to that. So I have one to my favorite things, which is when my glove rips, when my mask tears, when my gloves rip, and I'm stuck in line, I simply remember the feel of a touch and crawl back to quarantine. You know, and it's like it's 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm waking up with anxiety, or 5 o'clock in the morning, and immediately, like, my brain starts going to these lyrics, and then I just start not resisting it, but leaning into this gift that is emerging in this moment. So I think that there are, I mean, I think we are multi-gifted, you know, and I think that's one of the things that you say, we are multi-gifted. And I love that I'm quoting you. And how much I love you and how much I know who you are and what you're up to. But that there are gifts that are emerging in the moment. And I think it's really interesting, specifically for those of people who are younger, to listen for what is your body communicating, what is emerging. And instead of being in a space of judging, or is it good enough, or is it not good enough, or am I going to make money from it? Is this professional? Whatever, who cares? Like, allow yourself to be in the discovery and the curiosity of what's emerging. And then let that be enough. In this moment, let that just be enough.
I just love that. And I love that you're sharing about how you're managing your anxiety, and that you're sharing that you have anxiety, because I don't think we do that enough, where we share how we feel. We're humans, so every second of every day we have feelings, and it's energy, it's a wave. If it was like this, we'd be dead.
We'd be dead.
But when you sharing it with us gives us permission to share it with others. And then, of course, when we share it, something magical happens in the transformation of that. And I love that you're coming back to those beautiful natural gifts to help you with your anxiety. I never thought about that before, that if we're in anxious states, or we're sad or frustrated, that we can go to our natural gifts to change the energy. Yeah.
And to move it, to channel it, right? Yes. That there's a natural expression. And I really do believe that there is so much, we feel, as human beings, we feel. That is part of our experience on the planet. That is who we are, like we feel. And there's such fear to feel. And all the ways in which we numb that energy, right? And I think that one of the ways that and the funny thing is, I think there are people who judge themselves as like, I'm not creative, right? I'm not a creative, right? I'm not a creative person. Poppycock, bullshit. The act of creating anything has you be creative. And I remember, so there's a beautiful assessment. It's from the School of Positive Psychology at my alma mater, which is University of Pennsylvania. And there's a beautiful book called Thriving by a positive psychologist named Martin Seligman.
I know Martin.
And he has you, and it's a free assessment. I highly recommend it. And I have all of my clients do it, and it rates your strengths from 1 to 24. And I took the assessment, and my number one strength was creativity. And when I saw that, I was so upset. I was like, there it is. Musical theater, arts and crafts, not practical. My alma mater, the University of Pennsylvania, was founded by Benjamin Franklin, who said education should be practical, not ornamental. So when I saw that, what I saw was all the ways in which I believed that my gifts were ornamental, not practical, which was my judgment. And then that lasted for about 15 minutes. And then I was like, wait a second, creativity, from the verb to create, creator, from nothing, I create. 100%, that's exactly who I am. I am on a rampage of creation all the time, from the way that I dress, from the way that I cook, to the way that I organize my bookshelf, to the way that I decorate my apartment, to the way that I create businesses, the way that I have ideas, the way that I serve my clients and help them create content and leadership. All of that is an energetic expression of my fundamental need to create. And I believe that so many of us are muted in that because we've been judged, we've been criticized, we have limiting belief about that, judgment. And I think that that's why the rates of alcoholism and addiction and suicide, all that stuff is so high, because there's, I think, a real lack of expression, lack of connection to purpose, lack of seeing possibility in the gift, the inherent gift of who you are, and the power in allowing ourselves. I think the feeling is such a powerful gateway to kind of be connected to what's there and seeing what emerges as an expression of that feeling, not as a holding it back, not as a blocking it and locking it away and tightening it up and shutting it down, but really just allowing it the freedom and the space to emerge. And at first it may feel really dangerous and scary, so do it with safety and with love and with people who you know and trust who can hold that, and then start playing and seeing what emerges. And I think then there's movement and space and breath and air and light.
I love that you shared that. And I think it's really important for everyone to know, for a number of reasons. I think you are creative. You are beautifully creative, and I was lucky enough to be in your presence, and you helped me create. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad you're owning that with such joy. Yeah. And it's interesting for me because I have always felt big, like really big, huge, like I have so much energy, so much to share. And yet I've grown up consistently being told to be small in lots of ways. Be small, don't express yourself, don't be direct, don't tell the truth there, just please be small, don't make a fuss, shh. And yet all the while inside is like, I am big, it's part of my purpose, it's my true nature. You're big, you're big, no, shh. So I like that you have shared your story and that you have found people that love you, where there's a safe space for you to be creative. And I think that's a very important point, because if you're surrounded by people who want you to be different to who you are, back to the beginning when you were talking about, not really living a truthful life, which is, you showing up with all your colors. If we're around people who want us to stay small and shrunken and have our beautiful gifts locked away, then it makes it difficult for us to show up.
Yeah.
So,
because I live in the United States, and I communicate oftentimes with my privileges as an American, where it's considered a cultural positive to be loud and to take up space, right? And knowing that in different cultures that's not the case, and I know that in Australia there's like tall poppy syndrome, so if you stick out, it's like they're going to cut you down, right? So there may also be like their cultural expressions. My family's Cuban. So we like if you watch Spanish television, it's loud. Television was not intended for Mediterranean, or it's intended for like the British or like Scandinavians, where everything is very measured and very soft on film and it looks so expressive. But when you look at Spaniards on TV, it like looks like high camp, because we're just big. We're big people. We take up space. It's hot, So there's part of that too, which is, an interesting understanding. And I think it's so important to understand, like you want to be in fertile ground, right? Things don't grow if the earth does not have nutrients. And that's about your ecosystem, and that's about your environment, right? So if you are surrounded by people who cut you down, surrounded by people who don't believe in you, surrounded by people who are negative, it's gonna dilute the soil from all of the nutrients that are there. Nothing's gonna grow, or whatever's gonna grow, it may grow, but it may be a cactus. And there's something beautiful about a cactus that grows. Things still grow in arid areas, right? However, if you think about the the opportunity, and it really is a choice, to acknowledge that, like if you're in a company of people or surrounded by people, and believe it, I get it from personal experience, who constantly make you feel less than, then it really is time to choose a new group of people to surround yourself by, who, and that may feel scary and dangerous, and will anyone be there, or will I be alone? And there is, I think that, and I think if in truth, in authenticity, in alignment of what you're really passionate about, what you love. Like, as a kid, what I loved more than anything was singing and dancing and show tunes. And I never thought I would ever find anyone who liked and loved the same things that I did. As a child, I would make mixtapes of my favorite musicals. And at 18, I would lock myself in my room and play musical theater with toys, because there was no way in my Jesuit prep school world that was happening. Like, I wasn't performing. And that was like, that was the creativity was looking for a way to exert itself. And it did. It had to privately. And that's the way that it would find its way to express itself. And and I'm imagining that for you who are listening, wherever you are, there is some like secret gift or want or desire that is bubbling inside of you, that is looking for some type of expression. And if you're not finding that your environment supports that, right, there is the opportunity to look for and find places where you will. And I had the privilege of being able to go away to college. I went to university. I then joined a singing group. It was an all-male glee club. We went to Japan and Guam. We went to Spain and Morocco. And at the drop of a hat with this group of men, wherever we find ourselves, and also generationally, someone can blow the pitch pipe for a note, and the entire group of men can break out into song at the drop of a hat. And that, to me, is like the greatest gift. And it's not, and I am a soloist. I do sing alone. And the thing to me that is so powerful is when my voice is lost in the creation of something greater, in the harmonic creation of something greater that is an expression of our collective experience. That, to me, is the closest experience that I have to God.
Just wanted to take a moment to honor that. And I like that you said that is a moment that's where you feel that would be closest to God, because that is indeed you tapping into your true essence, to your true nature, which of course is connected to everyone, everything.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about that too is that, because when you're singing as a soloist, I'm the one who's singing, right? But when you're singing in a chorus, it's not about you. It's about the collective sound. And what I love about that moment, and the thing is, it's temporary, right? It doesn't go on forever. So you get glimpses of it, right? And I remember there's an American folk song called Shenandoah. And there's this one chord in it where it goes from 4-part harmony to 8-part harmony with the men's voices. And it is this opening of sound. And the note that I am responsible for as a second tenor, and I could choose, I could be upper second tenor or lower second tenor, creates that magical moment. But what happens in that moment, it's a selfless act of also listening for how what I'm offering is a contribution to the greater whole. And something that's been emerging, I think you're going to dig this, Kristen, which is the ability to communicate and speak and vibrate in the key of human being. And I think that's a metaphor for the way and how we show up in the world. Am I vibrating in the key of human being? And like the ability to witness, am I showing up as a person, doing the best that I can, practicing the golden rule, loving people, being of service? Am I, when I walk into the grocery store now, am I saying thank you to the people who are working with their gloves and masks to ensure that we have food stocked in grocery stores? Am I looking kindly at people in this moment, acknowledging that they may be suffering or alone or scared? Am I communicating in a way that really resonates and matters in acknowledgement of the various ways in which human beings are experiencing this moment? Am I vibrating in the key of human being? And I think it takes a fine-tuning assessment and acknowledging and noticing where leadership is not doing that, where are politicians or elected officials or leaders not vibrating in the key of human being. They're vibrating in the key of ego or whatever key they're in. And the thing is that when someone vibrates at that level, like that moment in the chord where everything disappears and what you're present to is universe, openness, expansion, that what happens is that everything disappears. And what you get is soul to soul, person to person, true authentic connection. And the miracle of that moment.
I do believe that I just experienced that listening to you.
You're a beautiful listener, Kristen. It's just been such a pleasure to be with you and just witnessing your true hearing of what I have to offer and what I'm sharing, and feel so honored and humbled to be in this space with you, and really thinking of the people who, wherever you are, human being, whoever you are, wherever in the world, whatever you're going through, wherever you're receiving this, may this conversation vibrate in the key of human being for you. And may this conversation and whatever we are communicating in this moment be the medicine in this moment that may allow you to be related to and uncover and be committed to the real seeing of your gift and the contribution that you are on this planet.
Wow. I'm teared up here, and I guess I tell you, to finish why I'm teared up. There are too many people here on earth who are not connected to their true nature. It flickers, of course, that you're born with your true nature, and it flickers, and I see it. I see it flickering, but then I see it get put back, and I see self-doubt sort of crowded in, or shame crowd the flickers, and so I'm teary because I know that the message you've just shared with my community, and hopefully your community and all of our communities, will make a big difference to people, because now is the right time for people to show up. I don't think we need to wait for you to have a midlife crisis. I know teenagers here who are ready to show up now, but still they have shame and doubt. And I guess what this movement is all about is not waiting to heal all your wounds. Show up now. There's a community for you. Sure, you might stuff up, but that's okay. Let your light out now. The world needs you. We need you now. That's my message. And Eduardo, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up and giving this beautiful gift to everyone. I'm so grateful to you.
I am humbled. I am honored, and feel really blessed in the gift of human connection in this moment with you, Kristen. You know, I don't know how many time zones away, you know, and the gift that, you know, I'm on one day, you're on the next day, you know, and we're still just all human beings on this planet, you know, trying to do the best that we can to vibrate in the key of human being, and show up and be of service to people. So thank you so much.
I hope this isn't the last time that we get to share your beautiful gift with the community. Thank you so much, Eduardo. And I assume very soon you'll be going off to bed. Enjoy your sleep.
Thank you so much. Bye, Kristen.
Bye.